What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Wright's Farm. Today, working on the Kodiak. Let me show you what we got going on. Today we're doing brakes. We're going to be replacing this caliper, pads, this line that runs over to the frame. And we're also going to be replacing this rotor. Now we'll show you how to do that. First, you got to get your wheel off. That took me roughly 40 minutes, probably half a tank of acetylene and some violence, but got it off. As you can see, these lug nuts, they were rusted on there pretty good. It had a little bit of anti-seize on there, but that was probably 30 years ago, and they hadn't seen the light of day since probably last century. So once you get your lug nuts off, second thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this caliper off. This bolt right here is 15 millimeter. You can get it out, and then this piece right here is going to slide this way, and the caliper just comes right on up out of there. Alright, so once we got the bolt out there, remember it's 15 millimeter. I just used a wrench, took it right off. This piece right here is coming this way. You won't need these if your new caliper came with new ones. Mine did, so we're going to be throwing these away. Then this caliper should just pull right up. Caliper pulls right up. I'm going to take these pads, the spring here, I'm going to push it kind of down and over to this slot. Once I flip it over here in a minute, you'll see what it holds on. Also don't need that. Pads, slide them over to the middle part. Don't need those either because we'll put new ones on. You see this notch right here, it's notched out. That's where the pads come out and the new ones go in. We had an issue last week with the other side, so we decided to do new calipers, new rotors, new pads in front. I already did the other side. I was stuck about 30 minutes away from the house. I didn't have the camera. The rotor actually doesn't look too bad. Yeah, it's got a little bit of rust on it, but we got a new one, so we're going to put it on anyway. The other side, it actually cracked, so we had to replace it. Next thing in here, I believe these are 10 millimeter. I'm going to pull all these bolts out and this cap's going to come off. You give me a minute, I'll grab a ratchet. Alright, so once you get all those 10 millimeters out, there's 6 of them, we're just going to throw them all in the cap. Set it right over there. Then we've got a cotter pin, and I think that's an 1 5/16 nut. I'll have to check it here in a minute. First, got to get this cotter pin out, then we'll just take that nut right off, and then this whole assembly slides off. It's similar to like a trailer, but we get those off, then we can get to these bolts back here for the rotor. And the rotor. Then get all that done, we'll put it all back together. Alright, so now that you got that nut off, it is 1 13/16, I believe. You've also got this washer that was on there. Had this nut and this washer. Take both of those off. We've got the outer bearing. I would go ahead and grab it, take it off. This actually doesn't look too bad, so we're going to clean it up and reuse it. Clean it up, repack it, and reuse it. And then this whole assembly, kind of got to work it back and forth a little bit because of the seal on the back side. It just pulls right off. Ooh. Oh, I had to get a new seal put in there. That was loose. But yeah, here are our bolts that we have to take out to get this rotor off. Then put it all back together. I'm gonna get those out right quick, and I'll get back to you. So these bolts are, it's a 1/2 inch or 5/8 bolt. Can't remember. The head on them is 15/16. I just used my 1/2 inch Milwaukee impact, took them right off. Looks like they had anti-seize on these bolts, but we put red Loctite on the ones on the other side and ran the bolts in with the impact, so they're not coming off. Now I just hope I can get that rotor off. I have to beat on it a little bit. Yeah, with my hammer. Ta-da! It's off. Alright. If you got a drill, or if you just have a hand wire brush, I like to run it around this edge right here just to clean off any rust or debris that might be on there. Alright, I'm gonna grab the new one and get ready. I'll get back to y'all in a minute. Alright, so now we got the new rotor on here. Got the bolts in, got our red Loctite on there. They're not going anywhere. When you get a new disc rotor, it's advisable to spray it down with some cleaner, because they come out of the factory with some kind of like an oil something, and all it does is just keeps them fresh. So we're gonna spray it down with some brake cleaner right here on the concrete. Make sure you get both sides. Alright, so now we got brake rotor all cleaned up. We'll let it dry off for a couple seconds, and then we'll stick it back on there. Alright, so we took our outer wheel bearing, we cleaned it up with brake cleaner really good. These rollers still look really good, so we're just going to repack this and put it back in. So I've got this, I believe it's called a bearing buddy, and we just take the bearing, put it this way down, and then we take this thing and push it down on it. And it pushes the grease. You can see where it pushes the grease up through the inside of the rollers. So then we're just going to take stuff on the inside here. We're going to run it around the outside of the bearing. Be sure to make a mess while you're doing this. Really helps. I'm going to take and roll them around real good and make sure they're good and coated. It's always the best idea to do this when your neck starts itching or something, right when your hands are all covered in grease. All right, one filthy packed wheel bearing. done. All right, now we're ready to put the rotor assembly back on. You just put it on there real carefully. She just slides right on there. You'll feel it bottom out back in there. Then you're going to grab your outside bearing, stick it in there. You're going to grab your washer, put it on. Grab your castle nut or lock nut, whatever you want to call it. Proper term is castle nut because the top of it looks like a castle. Then we're going to struggle to screw it on here for 10-15 seconds or so. Of course, I'm using my left hand. And while you're holding this thing on here, you need to be putting a little bit of force going up to kind of keep it centered on the hub shaft. And hand tight is usually good, but we got a breaker bar here, so we're going to tighten her up just a little bit. This thing has, I believe it's only one hole, or maybe two, that goes through this thing for the cotter pin, and we're just going to clock the castle nut just past one of those holes. Let's see here if I can find the hole. Back up just a hair. There we go, we got two holes lined up. Spins nice and free. I'm going to grab a new cotter pin right quick. This is a 2-inch long, 1/4 inch cotter pin. It's the size I used on the other side, and it worked good. Stick it in there. And then we've got to bend the end of it over. Actually, take and spin it around here. Grab a hold of it. Make sure you grab the biggest pair of pliers you got. You know what? I think we can grab it like this. Yeah, there we go. Ball peen. Who got my hammer? Ball peen. Just gotta tap it on in there just a little bit. Everybody does this different. This is just the way I do it. And then we're gonna take and try to bend this other one. Really need to bend it back, but we're gonna bend it out too. You know what? I think we're going to bend it the other way. If we can. You know what? I think it actually might be fine like that. I think that's how I did the other side, matter of fact. Bearing feels good. Good and tight. Spins freely. Now we're ready to put this cover back on. Got all 6 of these 1/4 inch bolts. They look like quarter anyway, that's what I'm gonna call them. Once you get all these threaded in, tighten them down, and then we're gonna move to the caliper, the lines, and the pads. I'll get back to y'all in just a second. Alright, so now that we've got this cap on and all of these 2mm bolts tightened up, got all that taken care of, now we're going to move over here to this line. Instead of taking it off of the caliper first, we're going to take it off from the frame. I already took the nut off of the back side of it. So now all we gotta do is take this line and then this plug out, put the new one in, and then we'll hook it up to the new caliper. Alright, I got you guys set up, kind of swinging there. Hope you don't fall. This is our new line here. We're just gonna have it right over here beside of us ready. Need a 7/16 line wrench. You can do it with a normal wrench. I highly recommend using a line wrench on brake lines and stuff. So we're just gonna go ahead and take this plug out of the back side first. I already broke them loose off of camera. Of course, the front side is going to be tight. Oh, we're going to screw this plug back in there for a second, just so we don't lose as much brake fluid on the ground. Alright, now grab the new line, get ready. Pull it out, put the new one in, and it can only go one way. Yeah, I know my head is probably in the way. Good idea to have gloves on while you're doing this too. Do as I say, not as I do. Line back in there. All right. Now we got the line back in there. We're gonna pick this side of it up, put it up above us, so hopefully it doesn't leak out as much fluid, even though it probably won't matter. We're gonna go ahead and stick the lines in for our caliper. And this kit comes with a little bag of stuff. Just set all the stuff I don't need over here. Alright, we got a bleeder valve here. I'm going to look at this caliper and see that, well, it's facing that way. We're over here. So we're going to put our bleeder valve over here. And we're going to grab this new line. And screw it in there. If I can slide it around. There you go. Now you might can see. I don't know, because I can't tell what you can see right now. I'm going to screw this line in here. Got the bleeder over here. I like the way this is designed because it puts the bleeder actually at the top, so you get all of the air out of the system while you're bleeding it. Alright, now we got some new bolts to put in here, and I'm gonna have to go grab a tool. Alright, now I got my 1/4 inch Allen for these two bolts right here. Let me get those started in there. Let's start this other one. Don't know why these bolts are like this. It's just what came with the caliper. So that's what we're putting on. Make sure you get them tight. All right. Now I'm just gonna set it. Oh, yeah, I had the line backwards. Had to take it off, flip it around. Oh, drop that in the dirt. Let me wipe that off real quick. All right, screw the bleeder back in there. Tighten up this line. The whole time while we're leaking brake fluid everywhere, making a mess. Very mindful, very demure. We're gonna put these two bolts back in here. Get them good and tight. Maybe. Alright, now we'll just set that in there for just a second. Tighten up these other lines. Alright, let me clean my hands off right quick. You don't forget to put your nut back on the back side of where your line hooks to the frame here. Stick it back on, tighten it up. That thing's an 1 inch and 5/16. Of course, this is the only ratchet I've got. This is all I got to work with here. And it really does not fit in here. But that's okay, because we're just going to make it work. Alright, next thing, I'm going to put these new pads on, so I'm going to spin you back around here so you can see. So we got these new pads here. So we're going to pull back on this rotor, stick them in there one at a time. Hopefully I don't drop them on the concrete. This side in here. Stick this side in here. Maybe. Sometime this year. Oh yeah, that's it. Just slides back down on there. And then this spring piece, I'm going to take you down so you can see this part a little better. Spring piece is going to go in here. You see these cutouts down in here? Yeah, you can't really see it. There's a little notch down in there. We're going to go in through here, and then on this upper side kind of go down through that notch too. Let me switch hands here. Actually, you can just push back on it a little bit and then kind of knock it back up in there. Really takes two hands to do it, but I ain't got nobody to film me. Alright, we switched it around. We're gonna do it this way. There we go. Now it's in there. That's what it should look like. Final result. Now we're gonna put this piece back in here, which is right over here. We got, this is the old piece, came with the new one. So the way this goes is this spring piece is going to go on the caliper side. Kind of just push it up in there and then take a hammer and just send her on home. Now we've got new pads, new caliper, the new rotor, and the new line in. Now we're going to bleed the line. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to turn the camera off and go find somebody to help me with that, because you will not be able to hear anything over that big Cat 3116. But yeah, I'll show you when we're putting the wheel back on it. Alright, well, it's actually the next day. Ran out of daylight last night. Didn't have any good flashlights so y'all could be able to see anything, but you see we got it all back together, took it down the road, and everything is perfect. This thing stops so much better now. Before it was like the left side caliper was kind of seizing up, and when you'd hit the brakes it'd jerk the steering wheel really hard to the right. And you could see here where I had to heat every lug nut up to get it off. And yeah, got it all back together. Now I'm working on the trailer harness wiring back here. Well, that's a fun mess. But hope y'all enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.